Hello and welcome to Rising from Falling. I am Judy Setting and this is episode number 103 on developing presence. It is my immense heartfelt intention to share with you my Lyme Healing Method that helped me heal twice. Yes, a second tick found me. And this method uses 3 R's: releasing anxiety, reconnecting with ourselves, and rewiring thoughts for healing. I use this the second time for full healing in less than 6 months, just this method. It's based on science, spirituality, somatic practices, stoicism, and success strategy. And I use it to teach and coach and offer you programs to help you with your healing, because I truly believe your healing is possible. So, on to developing presence. Are you like I was? Feeling like you have long desired healing. You've been dealing with Lyme for years, and maybe you're like me. My mind kept pondering myriad past pains and current Lyme symptoms, and anxiety pestered me about what's ahead instead of dealing with the now, dealing with the present. So if you are, there's hope. It can't get better. Years of Lyme, which can be like a drip, drip, drip trauma, can disconnect us from ourselves. And it's an aspect of healing, it has been for me, to develop presence, as in, quote, the state of being somewhere, end quote. It's a practice, it's imperfect, but it's focusing our attention, like really focusing our attention or showing up in whatever's happening now, per dictionary.com. This is instead of escaping in our minds or physically to any place else, especially when our minds are giving us all kinds of scary musings. I know, sigh. It's learning to gently and gradually, little by little, to accept and allow what is, or at least lean in that direction, because this is a process, little by little. Healing is a process, little by little, tenderly, gently, gradually. And when we do more accepting of what is, what's happening, that's actually the path through suffering. Acceptance, trust, and gratitude for me was the path through suffering and healing. Increasing presence actually means we spend less time avoiding, suppressing, ignoring, fighting, fixing, controlling. And here's a great story. It's in Dr. Edith Eger's book, The Gift, 10 Lessons to Save Your Life. Great book. She tells this wonderful story that exemplifies presence. So, and the absolute wonder of what presence can do. So Dr. Eger got, she believes that its presence is letting thoughts or feelings and challenging moments just come and move through us, and then we let them go. She writes about this family whose father was at end of life. He was in a wheelchair. He was close to death, and they wanted her to come visit. She had such a heavy heart, and he was unable to move or speak or eat, and the family was just so understandably scared. Of course they were. And to diminish his discomfort, they were jumping around and repositioning him because they were, quote, powerless to halt the illness's progress. Quietly, without a clue really what to do, but she's a brilliant woman, she had his wife hold his hand and kiss his hand. And then Dr. Eger took his other hand. And when she met his eyes, she could see that he felt so powerless and helpless. I remember that feeling. I can feel it right now inside myself. And she was just present. This actually gave the whole family permission to let his emotions rise and surface without as much judgment. The 4 of them in this room they were basically aiming to be comfortable with discomfort, quote unquote. And they simply sat there for a long time. So she really didn't feel like she had done much to support them in this very difficult time. And it's interesting. The son called 4 days later to say that his dad had passed on, and she told him what she thought. And his interpretation of what had happened was very different. He thought Igor had been a huge help in this incredible hardship, in this looming loss. They'd seemingly, quote, found useful the opportunity to practice presence, to sit with each other and with the disease and with their mortality without succumbing to the need to fix or change any of it. So what can you do in developing presence? All right, here's the first thing to remember. Our nervous system's number one job is protecting us. Your mind, body, spirit is beautifully, divinely designed this way, designed in every way, to help us dart or fight from what we perceive as life-threatening. For example, it's a grace that instantaneously, if a bus is about to hit us, we jump out of the way, for example. But sometimes, though, what can happen is we get trapped in or spend more time than is healthy in the nervous system state of fight, flight, freeze, or faint, instead of spending more time in rest and digest. In the former state, in those survival states of survival energy protecting us, our bodies can't heal. And that affects our immune systems, our GI systems, our cardiac. The nervous system speaks to all our body systems. Instead, we want to be in rest and digest. For extended periods of time, when we're in fight and flight, what happens is it's wear and tear on the body. It's called allostatic load. The relief here for you, for me, was learning that, wow, I can do things to bring my body out of fight and flight, and my body is just aiming to protect me. So when I thought of that, it's less of, when I started thinking about that, it's less of perfectionism, which is a shame-based belief system, right? And shame is I'm bad. It's less of shaming and blaming and judging ourselves and saying like, hey, my body's been kind of trapped in this state or spends a lot of time in fight or flight, and I can do something about it. I don't have to shame myself. It's kind of beautiful. And when we do that, it leaves space for us to then, lovingly shift in a healing direction. So here's what Dr. Gabor Mate says about wanting to escape from pain. He is a mind-body health expert as well as a trauma expert. He says, quote, "The attempt to escape from pain is what creates more pain." Now, this is lots of different kinds of pain that he's speaking about, but I found this to be true. He believes that chronic stress and trauma, which Lyme can cause, maybe it hasn't for you. It did for me. There were times I couldn't move from the neck down or speak. So what it does is that trauma, that long-term chronic stress from Lyme, can result in an inability to be present. Our body wants to disconnect. Our body minds want to disconnect from this horrible sensation. It's kind of beautiful when you think about it that way. So that's why it's advantageous to develop more presence if Lyme trauma can result in an inability to be present or disconnect from ourselves. When we become more connected from ourselves and more whole, that's where rest and digest and healing is. Noticing is always the first step. We can only do something about what we're aware of. Reading this, or hearing this, for you right now, is a teeny tiny healing step. Because here's the thing, awareness, actually there's science to the fact that it creates healing in the body. There's a study of women that cleaned hotels. And they went in and they monitored these women. They looked at their vitals, they took their labs, and they monitored how many steps, what they did to exercise a day. Then they had all that data and they told the women, here's all the things that you're actually doing every day. Nothing about their days changed. And guess what happened to their labs and their vitals? They significantly improved. So just your awareness of developing presence helps you in healing is a healing step. I love that. I love every single little itty bitty healing step. So you can set an intention. Setting an intention is setting the goal for where you're going to go, right? You can set an intention to begin, like how do we begin this? To begin noticing fight or flight thoughts or actions, like, oh, when that happens, I want to avoid that. Or, when this symptom comes on, I want to quick do something else to not think about it. Or anything that we're doing in these harder moments instead of being present. Because then, as you become aware, you can take itty-bitty steps to become increasingly present to yourself and to the moment. Here's what I think start with. Body-based somatic practice, which actually regulates our nervous system. It's easy, you don't have to think, and this discharges chronic stress, which is stored in our nervous systems and in our bodies cellularly. Anxious thoughts aren't just in our head, they're in our body. The trauma, the chronic and traumatic stress is like stored cellularly. And when we do little practices, it's easier for us to be more present because we're not in fight and flight, because we feel better and calmer, more relaxed, because we've released some of that chronic stress in our body. So I love this 5-minute consistent daily-ish somatic, which is a body-based practice of double sniff VU. So I combined 2 research-based, evidence-based practices for more potent healing oomph. This is from Stanford Medicine, a study, the double sniff VU part, and the VU, the double sniff and the exhale part, and the VU is from Dr. Peter Levine. He is a trauma researcher. So both of these things I combined to make what I find to be super potent. Here's all you do. Double sniff VU. It's 2 inhales into your nose without exhaling, and then exhale from your mouth and say VU at the same time. Let's do it together. Ready? Two inhales through your nose, and then exhale through your mouth and say VU, aiming for like a low boat horn sound. Ready? VU, VU. Okay, the breathing part by research is reducing anxiety in your mind. The VU part is discharging chronic and traumatic stress from your vagus nerve, which is your 10th cranial nerve. It runs from your brainstem all the way down to your colon, and it is the mind-body connection, literally. And when you do this, little bits of chronic and traumatic stress are discharged. You can imagine it for even more potent healing power, like going down through your core, right? Vision, using your mind and your body for healing. You can say a prayer beforehand. Thank you that I was healed, to the universe, to God, to spirit. And what you'll notice that it's working if everybody's different, but you yawn or you sigh or you just feel kind of a restful sensation in your core. Those are signs it's working. And this is I love this because I've had people now, it worked great for me, a current client it's working great for, and a subscriber just recently. She, who's been sick for years, really, really sick. She was so sick. She recently told me, just a few days after starting double sniff VUing, here's what she said, quote, "It is so remarkable, ! I've been doing this a bunch. I'm noticing subtle shifts in the right direction, which is pretty cool, ! Thanks so much, ! Yay! It's amazing to me. It works. You can do it with me on Instagram, at Judy Setting. Okay, so let's say you're noticing symptoms or you want to be present and your mind is like a dust storm of anxiety and you're hankering to like dart away, or mindlessly you're just like, you notice you're just like scrolling social media, right? Here's what you can do. Say, I am choosing differently. Not shamefully, just I am choosing differently. Followed by several double sniff VUs. This will release anxiety, help you feel more calm, and then you may feel like being more present to whatever's going on in your life or whatever's happening, right? Still don't feel any relief. What you can do is double sniff VU, combine it with a self-holding tuck-up. This is, again, 2 strategies that I combined for more quicker healing oomph. Here's what you do. Double sniff foo. I'm going to show you. I'm going to stand up so you can see it. I'm going to just stand up a little bit. Okay, so here's what you do. Double sniff foo. Along with, so go in another room. I mean, if let's say, you can't think clearly and the double sniff foo isn't working and you're just mindlessly scrolling social media instead of being present to what you want to do. You can go into another room, lie down on your side, and self-holding tuck-up is take your right hand and put it underneath your left armpit, and take your left hand and grasp your right upper arm and just hold. At the same time, you're lying on your side, you're going to tuck your legs up, okay? So you're sort of in a, semi-fetal position, whatever's comfortable, right? And you can double sniff foo at the same time. I can feel that in my core. It feels good just doing it. This actually, you're just tenderly embracing yourself and double sniff fooing, right? At the same time. So now you're doing 4 evidence-based strategies all at the same time for being more present to yourself, to the moment. This sends your nervous system safety signals. Okay, according to Dr. Peter Levine, this self-holding, it eases despair. And then when you tuck up, this actually stretches your psoas muscle. That is, goes from the base of your spine through your pelvis and connects to your femurs, your big leg bones. And when we stretch that psoas muscle, that actually also helps discharge stress, right? So try that. You can also do it with me on Instagram. Here's another way to be more present. Not perfectly present, that's not what we're aiming for, just presence. What you can do is the clouds in the sky technique. If you have distracting, anxious thoughts, right, you can act as though there are clouds in the sky. So this is, instead of denying or hyper-focusing on that fiery foo that your mind is feeding you, you can consider allowing thoughts to just sort of be there, right? And let them sort of slowly float by. So you're just kind of letting them diffuse, the thoughts diffuse. This can aid in being somewhat, or even an itty bit more, in the moment. Remember, imperfect is okay here. We're not looking for perfection. We're looking for the process, little by little, of healing. Here's another thing. Let's say you can't be present. It's not doable. Presence does not feel doable. It's okay. You're human. And you're criticizing yourself or another person, this is me, or you're perfectionizing, which is like blaming and shaming yourself, and you can't be present to the moment. Here's what I do. PPWSDD. That's pause, pray, wait for emotion to die down, go silent, or take some distance to deal with it later. PPWSDD still saves me all the time. When something is too hard, I'm not thinking clearly, I'm not with my executive functioning in my brain, I'm thinking from my amygdala, which is like our survival brain and other areas of the brain, and we can't clearly think. So PPWSDD, to help you just bring yourself down, just help you, just soothe yourself, bring your nervous system into a more calm, more rest and digest state. You can also, I find that having a few 3 to 4 word shorty PMIs, prayers, mantras, or intentions, memorized ahead of time to say repeatedly in the moment, can help with increasing your ability, like if you practice them ahead of time, you're more likely to do them in an uncomfortable, hard moment. So for me, I use God calm my spirit, or I just look up and say, you take over, or whatever it is. But ahead of time practice of a strategy means it's more likely to be chosen in a tough moment. So here's the thing. We can practice being with what doesn't feel too hard, but does feel a smidge challenging. Because remember, growth happens in small stress. Like growth happens where there's a little bit of stress, where success seems likely. There's no overnight quick fix here. I'm sorry for the people that are watching this. I don't know why it's fuzzy, a little bit fuzzy, but I'm going to just keep going here because I'm not really that great at tech and my tech person isn't here. So we're going to go with the flow so you have this valuable content, but I'm just a little fuzzy. Process over perfection. Okay, so remember, growth happens in small stress where success feels likely. There's no overnight quick fix. It takes time. I know it's a bummer. But the long-term goal is being present. Reduces our strong desire to suppress how we feel or fight symptoms or claim a current situation is not so when it really is. Here's another thing. Your eyes are soul windows. I love this practice to be more present with myself. Here's what I do. I use a mirror for presence practice. And this can be just like habit stack it, add it to another activity. After you toothbrush in the morning, or when you're doing your makeup in the morning if you wear makeup, or after you eat lunch, whatever something you do every day, you can go to a mirror and practice seeing yourself and accepting more of true you. That's what I found happened when I did this. It helps us, I found, when we kind of connect with ourselves, to be more with ourselves in a hard moment, to develop presence. I like saying, I love you 10 plus times into a mirror. And when I was really sick, I used to say it 100 times. Okay, you don't agree with that? That's totally fine. You can sing, you can stand in a full-length mirror, look at yourself, and sing and dance to your favorite uplifting song. And watch yourself, look yourself in the eyes and watch your body, right? Here's the bonus. This rhythmic movement and bouncing of dancing actually releases chronic and traumatic stored stress from our bodies. And if we're singing, that's a vibration on our vagus nerve, and that is releasing it too. Plus, play is a nervous system regulator. So you can do this activity, help you develop presence, and help you, and have it be joyful. Lastly, consider asking yourself a question to reflect on this week. You can choose the question. Here's some ideas. You're aiming for getting curious with yourself, tenderly, lovingly, being open, because when we ask questions, it helps us shift our perspective and helps our unconscious actually work on answers. So you can say, like, this week, you could say, what might help me be more present? Or, I don't know, you pick a different question if you like something better. Whatever honors, whatever floats, honor that. And ignore anything I say that runs contrary to that, because you, friend, you're divine. I believe that with my heart of hearts. And your answers are within, and asking questions helps you get to answers. So here's the thing. In the longer run, this takes practice, developing presence, but when we do this, it means when symptoms are screaming, it's possible to actually ooze love. When a child is ill and super cranky, when we can be more present, and handle more calmly and with more clarity a work emergency that formerly caused like a mega anxious internal dust storm. Presence is a skill for you to be more there with you, with your true you, with whatever's happening in that moment. After years of chronic Lyme, we can become disconnected from ourselves, from our emotions, from our bodies, from other people. And presence, developing presence, it's a way of reconnecting with what is, with what's inside ourselves, with what's happening in the moment. And when we can just be with what is, it helps us metabolize and move through whatever type of pain, I mean pain in a big global sense, whatever it is, and assist us then to actually metabolize it and be part of moving through it. I mean, just thinking about that and how this helped me, I can feel the sigh of relief. I love talking to you here. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you like this, please subscribe or share it with other women that have Lyme so we can spread the healing yum. That is my call and what I'm here for, to help you and so many other women. I love this work. If you'd like more Lyme Healing Method ideas, I'm on Instagram for you at Judy Setting. And if you have listened this far, email me, judy@setting.com, and you can email me, send me info. That's all you have to say. And I will send you a sneak peek on my new Lyme to Sublime Daily Healing Habits program. I'd love to share it with you. And if you're not subscribed to my free newsletter, go to judysetting.com. I am so appreciative for your listen. I am sending you mega love beams and healing prayers for your developing presence.